Yes, it is. It's another episode of Bondy on Baseball. Thanks for hanging out with me. We could talk about a whole bunch of things. We could talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being one of the greatest hitters in Major League Baseball right now. Or we could talk about Jacob deGrom's .62 ERA over his 9 starts, which is absolutely insane. But one of the hottest topics in baseball right now is this continued conversation about pitchers using foreign substances on baseballs. Now, this is one of those unwritten rules in baseball. Pitchers, for the longest time, have used some sort of grip substance on their baseballs. Earlier days, it was pine tar. Now it's kind of developed in this sunscreen mixed with rosin paste, and now there is a product on the market called Spider Tack. Spider Tack is used for the world's strongest competitions where men and women have to pick up those giant boulders. They need some sort of grip, so it's placed on their fingertips to help grip a round surface. Now, to remove Spider Tack, you need to use certain amounts of WD-40 or a paint thinner. Obviously, that means this stuff is pretty darn sticky. As we've spoken in previous episodes, umpires are now allowed to pull random game-used baseballs from the games that they're umping to send them to a baseball lab to be tested. First pitcher that kind of experienced this was Trevor Bauer. They took his baseballs. Other pitchers, some have had hats taken and exchanged during the games. So these studies have been going on all year. The findings came back, and I am blown away. 80 to 90% of pitchers in baseball today are using performance-enhancing or grip-enhancing substances. 80 to 90%? That blows my mind. So obviously something has to be done about this. This is the year of the no-hitter. Or is this the year of thicker seams and foreign substances? So with these new findings, 80 to 90%, umpires now have the right to pull a pitcher off the mound either in between innings if there is suspicion that they have substance on them somewhere, whether it be their belt, their hat, their wrist, inside their glove. They're allowed to collect these items from the pitchers. The suspension now is 10 games without pay. So they obviously tested this testing in the minor leagues first. 4 minor league pitchers were caught using Spider Tack, what I'm assuming, and were suspended for 10 games without pay. Garrett Cole, after those minor leaguers were suspended, his next start, his rotations dropped by about 125 RPMs. That is fairly significant from a guy that spin rate has been rising. Similar to Trevor Bauer, his also plummeted. Earlier this month, my man, Josh Donaldson, 2015 MVP, wearing a Toronto Blue Jays uniform. He's forever shrined in this cool pose, but it doesn't actually look like Josh Donaldson. Kind of looks like his finish. I like touching the dirt. Donaldson, in an interview with The Athletic, called out Garrett Cole as one of the pitchers who uses the substances, and he said that he could send out a list or a thesis with just names of people that use it. Then Garrett Cole, he was interviewed, and when asked the question on the accusation, what he thinks about the accusation of using Spider Tack, this was Garrett Cole's response.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest. There are customs and practices that have been passed down from older players to younger players, from the last generation of players to this generation of players, and I think there are some things that are certainly out of bounds in that regard, and I've stood pretty firm in terms of that, in terms of the communication between our peers and whatnot. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there's, this is important to a lot of people that love the game, and this is including the players in this room, including fans, including teams. And so if MLB wants to legislate some more stuff, that's a conversation that we can have, because ultimately we should all be pulling in the same direction on this.
Excuse me? Now, do I think it's fair that we just kind of pick on Garrett Cole? Yes. The thing is, if 80 to 90% of pitchers are using this substance, then to just pick on one pitcher is a little bit harsh, but man, you are making more than any other pitcher in this game right now, and you are signing $300+ million contracts, and you're cheating. But this cheating has such a gray area. He says in the interview that it's, the traditions that have kind of been passed down from older guys to younger guys, and as if everyone in the clubhouse knows Garrett Cole uses spider tack. The argument that pitchers are now going to take is that we are throwing with such high velocity now that we need extra grip or more guys are going to get hit. That ain't true, because right now in the major leagues we are at the highest hit batter rate of any season to this game, to this point in the season so far. So your argument about it has more control is just absolutely bogus. What I think might be going on with that extra grip that pitchers have, and we changed the baseball so the seams are thicker, obviously we're going to see an increase in spin rate. But these guys, with the substances that they're allowed to get more grip, kind of go more aggressively on their curveballs or their sliders or even their four-seamers because they're not afraid of losing it, which is why possibly they just have less fear and aren't really focused as much on control, so they're missing the strike zone, and sometimes when they lose it, it goes into people's faces. So this idea that you can take a bigger risk with throwing a little harder or worrying less about the zone and just letting it go, these substances are probably causing that sort of false sense of security in pitchers, which is why maybe the hit batters have gone up. When you pick up a baseball that hasn't been rubbed in dirt and hasn't been thrown around a bit, they are super slick. So we do need some sort of roughage or something so the rosin really dries the hands out, but you're just going to be more careful. You know in the sense memory in your hand when you throw a ball whether or not you have grip on it, and you're going to adjust. So maybe that slider won't be as devastating, but work on changing up the speed of it as opposed to just trying to get as much spin on it as possible. I think that it is a combination of things that have occurred. I think they changed the baseballs this year. So, the argument is, we're having too many home runs. But now it shifts onto the other side, and we're moving into an era of these unwritten rules. People use steroids, and until it was caught and sort of enforced, you did it. A lot of guys use steroids, and that's kind of the way it was back then. We cleared that out. We put an asterisk on all the people that we needed to. And now it's moving into, wait a second, there is more cheating going on, and it's with the pitchers. Thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Bondy on Baseball. Leave your comments below. What do you think? Are they cheaters? Is this an unwritten rule? Always been happening? Or are we advancing in equipment and it's becoming a problem? Let me know. Till next time, take care.
Hey, Bondy, you up?